great to see everyone here. My name is Anton. I'm a co-CEO at Reface. For today's talk, I will basically focus on one topic, which is growing and scaling AI apps. And in terms of the agenda, we will go through a few things. So we will talk about Reface company, and we transitioned quite a bit over the last 4 years. And then 3 periods of our sort of realization how to build AI products. The first period would be about the great success of Reface app, which has been really stunning, but it happened a few years ago. Then the period number 2, when we tried to replicate the case of Reface for another few apps, and we failed miserably. And the period number 3, which we are right now, and I think we sort of cracked a little bit how to do things with Reface. Yeah, I think one other thing which is important to know that downloads is a vanity metric, and as we say, we have 300 million, but in the end of the day, downloads is not actually what matters. What matters is DAU, engagement, how much time user spends in the apps, also ultimately the cash flow that you get from your assets, right? So a lot of the things are confidential, but the downloads can give you an impression that at Reface, we sort of learned something that worked for us, and maybe this experience would be very helpful for you as well. Especially now, I think, with the proliferation of AI, we have so many different ways of building businesses with very small teams. And me and the co-founder, Ivan, who is also sitting here, co-CEO, we are super excited for the new age because we feel like the future will belong to many small teams, which will be obviously powered by AI agents, who will be able to build a much more fragmented internet in a way than we have right now. And at Reface, we sort of try to implement the same philosophy in our company when we have a few teams building different things. So let me start with telling you a little bit more about Reface. So we were quite popular actually back in 2020, 2021, when we launched our first app, Reface. And since then, we changed quite a lot. We went through a few very hard periods for the company. We went through a restructuring when we needed to fire people and actually change the core of the team as well and the functions that we rely on. But since this pretty strong transition, we ended up being a company that builds AI consumer apps. So basically what's interesting for us is the consumer internet and consumer subscriptions, but we look specifically at the categories which we think can be disrupted with the help of new AI use cases. And we quickly build apps and we try to iterate them. And when we see there is attraction, we obviously start pumping up much more resources and making these products bigger and better. But the whole idea is that we also kind of AI optimists, and we see that actually AI can bring a lot of good things for the society, for the life of people, and the mission of the company Reface. It also transitioned a few times, but now it's improve everyday life with AI. So we sort of target everything that people can touch on their mobile phones every day. Currently, we have a portfolio of more than 10 products. Some of them you can see here. Reface app, which also transitioned quite a bit into sort of a place where people can envision themselves to be anyone. So the app originally started with the face swap use case, where you can take an embeddings of your face and put it at any video. And now we're much more than that. So basically in Reface app, you can beautify yourself, you can see yourself in different contexts, and all other AI entertainment things that people may find interesting to discover themselves and see who they may be in different contexts. Revive app, it's also AI entertainment app, but it's much more focused on the older audience, basically people who like to entertain their grandkids with different AI tricks. Restyle, it's a photo editing app, the tattoo generation app in KI, the gamified food tracker, the AI mental health app, the app about a virtual try-on, and the app which helps you to create memes. And besides that, we have a few other products which are not public yet, but hopefully if you check our website in 6 months, there will be way more apps. In terms of the size, we're 110 people, and the way how we build our company right now is we think about it as a few product teams which iterate on mature apps and mature use cases, and a few teams which iterate on new product ideas. And then we have also platform functions which sort of help to scale all the product teams, which, as I alluded before, sort of comprise the small, a few people team to build interesting products based on AI. And platform functions for us are also extremely important because that's where we see we can get a competitive advantage over the other builders who, for example, have a really good team, but they build just one app and they just don't have certain things for scale, certain things for kind of defensibility. And when I talk about the platform function, I would say it's probably 70% of the employees we have. And it's obviously marketing, it's growth, it's AI research, it's ML production, which makes our AI models more scalable. Everything that these product teams can come and sort of get resources in order to make their product successful. And once we see that some of the products started getting traction, for example, a good example is the BytePal food tracking app, which I will talk a little bit more about today. We obviously pump up more product-specific resources, but the platform for us is very important. Another cool feature about Reface is that we're backed by Andreessen Horowitz. It's a very well-known American venture capital fund, which also gives us tremendous help in terms of building the company and also seeing use cases where we can try to launch our bets and see whether it works. And as I said, we also try to make good from AI. We try to make people's life a little bit better, funnier, healthier with the help of new technologies. So to start, early success of Reface app. So the team got together back in 2019 and the team was super excited about AI, and it was a great time for Reface because not that many people were thinking about AI. And now, obviously, with the Gen AI revolution, open source, the market got much more crowded. We have way more talent, way more money in this market, but we were sort of the first. And the team was experimenting, first of all, with GANs and visual models. And the original idea was trying to create a technology which were able to basically take the face embeddings of a person and put it onto a video. And the thought was that this use case would be primarily used for B2B. It would be used for Hollywood studios to basically make the filming much cheaper. It would be used by ads agencies who need to produce a lot of content and things like that. But what we figure out while we were trying to kind of work through this B2B use case is that actually our technology is not enterprise grade quality and it's very hard for us to reach enterprise grade quality. But what we noticed is that the advantages of our technology was that it was cheaper and it was also very scalable. And therefore we decided to package into an app, and the app went viral. We also were very lucky, obviously, because it was the COVID time, so you can see it's right mid of 2020. But anyways, it was a very unique proprietary technology, which I think it took the world maybe 2.5, 3 years to kind of come closer. And we enjoyed this kind of monopoly position of this thing. Tons of reviews, really good ratings, best apps of the year and stuff like that. So it felt a little bit like winning a lottery ticket. A few reasons why now in retrospect we understand why we succeeded and why on the second period, which I will talk a little bit later, we did not succeed is that Reface was primed for growth in a few areas. So the first reason is the use case. So use case is extremely simple. You have basically a feed of different content pieces. And then the only thing you need to do is to take your selfie, and then the technology itself in 5 seconds would produce something which is very fun, very shareable with your face. And I think the beauty of this use case was that it takes 5 seconds, so it's easy to use, as we call it at Reface. It's also about you, and people are much more likely to engage with something that has your own identity because you feel like it's yours. And it's very fun. I mean, if you put your face on Bruce Lee, for example, then you 70% chances will share it with your friends, and therefore we had a very, very big virality coefficient that people were just like sharing fun things. I think that's the sort of power of humor. The second thing, which was also important for us, is kind of the product work that we did from the beginning of the original launch of Reface and this hockey stick curve. We worked quite a bit on content, and as you can see, we started with GIFs, and then we transitioned to video when the technology allowed it, and it made everything look much cooler, and it also gave us a much bigger breadth of content that we can play with. And we also introduced better tech, which will always help. If you have product market fit, it makes sense to invest a lot in tech. If you don't have, it's a question. But we, at that time, and by the definition of product market fit that we had back then, yeah, better tech definitely helped. And another like cool snippet from our experience is that at some point we allowed users to add multiple faces on this piece of content. And in this case, obviously you add yourself, then you add a few of your friends, and this content became even more shareable. And therefore, it kind of created this amazing growth loop that we enjoyed for quite a bit. The third reason for success was visual output. And I think it's a blessing if a product has something visual to show. It can be either something cool in the interface or actually the byproduct of what your product is doing. And in our case, it was a lot of like funny videos, and therefore this visual output was very easy to take for marketing, to kind of slice and dice it, to create like multiple copies of different things for different audiences as well. Here we have this guide, and we have obviously other audiences as well that we targeted. So it was very much primed for performance marketing as well in a way. And we didn't need to reinvent the wheel because it's just the output of our technology that we can use to create like a lot of ads. And the last reason also for the original success of Reface is obviously we were the first early, I would say, entrant in consumer AI. There was no one before. The use case definitely had the wow effect. It's just 5 seconds to something which amazes you. And therefore, we had a ton of inbound interest. We had a ton of very cool people coming and asking to work with us. And everything that you see here, it's inbound, which is also crazy. Because, yeah, we probably all used to kind of grind to get good partnerships, good deals and stuff like that. At that time, at this like lottery period of time of Reface, I mean, we had a ton. We had a partnership with Justin Bieber, actually a few. We had the partnership with Borat movie. I think it's Borat 2. John Legend partnerships, like a lot of free press and stuff like that. So we were very lucky, I would say. And then we realized that, okay, now we have a big team. We also have a company which generates quite a lot of cash, and we need to think how we can sort of expand from there. And obviously, we keep working on Reface app, but we also started looking into other sort of adjacent use cases and product ideas that we can also work on. And we thought that, okay, we're very special and it's going to be a repeatable success for us. We just use the same sort of playbook, more or less, and it's going to work. And here I just want to talk about one of the products that we launched 2 years ago. It's called Restyle. And the product was about a video-to-video filter. So basically you can take any video that you like. It can be a video with your cat. It can be a video of you cycling or something like that. And then you can apply filters. And I mean, obviously now it looks very rudimentary and now it's horrible technology. But back then it was very innovative. And you can apply video filter and see yourself as a character in the Western or in the Star Wars. And then, for example, if you take a video of a car, if it's Star Wars, it would be a spaceship. So it was sort of cool. And we were super excited in-house. We just look at these content pieces and we're like, fuck, it's going to be better than the original Reface. It's going to be amazing. Then, to be honest, we also felt into this trap that we were actually, there was Runway ML back then. I mean, it's 2 years ago, but it's ages. So it was Runway ML, and we were the second one who came up with this video-to-video functionality. But Runway ML was much more focused on sort of prosumer B2B use cases, and we were the only ones focused on video-to-video for consumer. So we were also super excited that, again, we managed to build something very cool that the world hasn't seen before. We also got a little bit smarter versus the period of Reface, where we started also relying on metrics a little bit. And back then we had this, I mean, it's probably quite standard for the market. And now we also do more sophisticated things, but we also run a few marketing ad sets with this technology, and we saw really, really good CTRs on the ads. And it also gives us additional confidence that it's gonna fly. And last but not the least, the use case, if you think about it and don't think about it deeply, it's visually first, it's very similar to original Reface, so it should work. And then, I mean, me and Ivan, we decided to bet all company on this thing. We basically pulled people from Reface app. We asked everyone to work and to prepare Restyle for the big launch. We also did like a massive mistake, an influencer campaign. So we got like, I don't know, a lot of very expensive people, and we ended up being quite useless. to do like an influencer campaign. So we kind of boost with the release, with the influencer campaign, a lot of paid marketing. We created brand manifest videos. We also had a partnership with Jared Leto in 30 Seconds to Mars. So he kind of worked through one of his video clips with the help of this technology. Yeah, as I said, we bet all the company and disrupted quite a bit of other important processes. And we ended up having something like this. So it's a chart from Sensor Tower. We launched an MVP. We didn't show it to anyone. We kind of tested internally. Then we launched it in Ukraine. Then we had the influencer campaign. And it's downloads. It's not money. Money would be inverted. And then it just, and it died. And it was a very big shock for us because I mean, we expected something similar to Reface, and I would say also we had a very lucky run to this point, and it was like a very big first mistake for the company to realize, but also a very big learning point. So now, in retrospect, what we did wrong? I think, number one, we didn't look deep enough into the product use case. And I mean, yes, it's similar to Reface, but the first very big difference is that we needed to wait, like a user needed to wait 60 seconds, maybe 40 seconds versus 5 seconds. And we thought, okay, maybe it's not a big problem, but we are in the market of fast AI entertainment. And I like to call it like, you know, you go to a supermarket and we like Haribo bears. You don't need it, you bought bread, you bought meat, but then you're like at the counter and you see this Haribo bear thing and you want to take it. And it means that it's an instant purchase. And if a person gets to the app and the person needs to wait like 40, 60 seconds, it's so much worse than 5 seconds, it's crazy. And therefore, kind of the funnel looked much worse in terms of this creation of content which needed to be viral in the end of the day. Second, I mean, freemium model that I wrote here like something wrong, but basically you needed to pay for every generation. It was expensive. Reface was super cheap, so we were able to, like the face swap, the original face swap. So we could just open it up to a lot of users and create this density of content in TikTok, Reels, Instagram. For these guys, for this model, we actually needed to charge people. Otherwise, the unit economy doesn't work, and it also obviously punished our funnel quite a bit. Another interesting aspect that we learned later on is that people are much, much less likely to share, engage, if the content that they see does not have likeness of them. And yeah, I mean, you can say that it's probably the same girl, but if you just send this video to your friend, I mean, no one knows whether it's you or not. Therefore, the inherent virality was much, much lower. Yeah, CTR is not equal installs and paid users, which we also learned. Kind of the hardest realization that if we like something, it doesn't mean that the market likes it. And the market not really liked it. So since then, we went through a very big period of transformation. So it's been 1.5 to 2 years for us when we really sit at the table and we started thinking what's the future for Reface, because obviously our original technology was, as Dmitry was saying, the previous chat is it has massive TAM because everyone in this room can use it, but there is no repetitiveness, there is no retentive use case. And the way how we sort of wanted to a little bit add it is we keep adding different AI entertainment features so people can still see something new, still see something cool at Reface, but in the end of the day, it's a leaky product. It's very good, but it still has tons of organic traffic and it generates quite a lot of money, but it's very hard to build a unicorn out of it. And therefore, we started working through like a new strategy of Reface, how we're gonna do more things in a more normalized way as the majority of people face without this lottery ticket. And also what happened as well, which is very important for us, and I said it before, that the AI revolution happened, and for us it was I would say it's a big negative. The positive things are that people are probably more curious and willing to try different AI use cases. But the negative thing is that obviously market is much more flooded with supply of things, with technology, open source. And 2-3 years ago, we were one of the few teams in the world that could create this kind of models. Now it's open source, LLMs, fundamental models, which is quite easy. So since then, we also had a few flops. I'm not going to talk about them, but we also had a few successes. So on this slide, you have the 2 apps which we're, particularly quite proud of. And I'll start with this one. The app is called InkAI AI Tattoo Generator. And this app is about people who want to try to do like another or a first tattoo on themselves. And usually what we found is that the process of kind of tattoo exploration is quite broken because, for example, if you do not know how to draw, then you need to go to Pinterest, you see kind of the object that you want to make tattoo of, then you try to see the styles, you try to marry them together, then you find a tattoo artist, you send it to tattoo artist, then tattoo artist comes back to you in 2 weeks and he's like, oh, I didn't have time, there are like only 2 sketches I've made, and you're disappointed, you either drop or you make a tattoo that you regret later on. And yeah, with the help of AI, we basically made a bunch of things. It helps you with the exploration. It helps you with text to tattoo. You can do like tattoos, faces, animals. You have augmented reality to put the tattoo on yourself to see how it fits your hand, for example. Yeah, so this app was a success. We were #1 in graphics and design US App Store last year. And another app, which we're even more excited about, is BitePal. It's a gamified food tracker. And the idea is that, I mean, there is a very big problem in the world eating healthy. For some reason, it's just health. For some people, it's health. For some people, it's weight loss. And there are a bunch of quite old apps as well. For example, MyFitnessPal, which is super big. But also, we found a very interesting insight that especially younger generations find it tedious and boring, quoting things that we learned from people who use MyFitnessPal. And therefore, actually, yeah, the creator of BitePal app sits over here, this guy in glasses. And we decided to marry the gamification element, so virtual raccoon basically feels depending on what you eat, with the very simplified interface, which is photo first. You take a picture, it tells you what's in your plate, it gives you the estimate calories for the food as well, and obviously you can change a lot of things. And then later on, we're also now trying to build social in this app as well, because if you remember Instagram back then, while it was not super polished, it was a lot about food and like people posting things about food. So it's very interesting insight that we want to explore, and I think in the summer we will see a few social features. And obviously a lot of AI-driven things which were not possible before, which is recipes, your kind of diet balance, how are you doing on vegetables this week versus last week, and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool app. And yeah, what basically the rules that we learned and we try to apply going forward for our app studio to thrive and to create more products that actually stick and keep being relevant. The first rule is build something people want, and I think it goes to the old saying of Y Combinator back from 2008, that I mean, people don't care about your product, they care about the solution. And for us, it's super obvious, but we didn't think about it this way as much, and we didn't use this lens to evaluate product ideas that we were investing in. And the good example is the restyle your video. I mean, what do you do with it except for like one-time fun? I don't know, but for the tattoo app, you actually can do quite a bit. And you can churn, you can do a tattoo, you churn, you don't do tattoo, but then in next year, if you like this app, you come back, you install it again and stuff like that. So if we think about the retention per se, I wouldn't say the retention of this app is amazing, but it definitely has this repeatability of pain point, use case, and then just people can churn, come back, but it's something that actually solves some of their problems that they have. Also, actually, for Ink AI, the good thing is the output is also quite visual, which also helps in the ads. Yeah, rule number 2, design product with TikTokness in mind. And what do we mean by that is people have lower and lower attention spans, right? You have like 1, 2, 3 seconds to engage a person in an ad or like an influencer campaign and stuff like that. And obviously, it helps a lot if something which fits into your, let's say, ad or creative actually can feature a product which stands out, right? And you can remember, oh, it was the raccoon, there is the mascot thing, and then you can do different things with raccoon. So it just gives you kind of more assets to experiment, but also enrich your ads with something that people can also trust. Because now, obviously, talking like 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, people were curious to try many things. And now all of us have tons of apps in your phones. And you're like quite hesitant actually to click if you do not see very clearly there is a reason to believe that it actually worth trying. So the way how we try to build the products is actually, I mean, cool UI, UX, and something which is memorable. And I think in BytePal app, we managed to do it quite well. I mean, rule number 3, master paid marketing. And it's also something that we originally didn't want to do because we had this good tailwinds of face swap, the uniqueness of technology, virality. But in the end of the day, organic traffic is great. Brand, definitely you need to do it. Product-led growth, think how to engage more and more users. But something which is much more predictable and also scalable is paid marketing. And therefore, there is a saying in venture capital world also, like Andreessen Horowitz used to say this before, but not anymore, that like very good products do not do marketing. I mean, I think they do. And Dmitry Gursky also said the same. I mean, Flow is an amazing product and is I mean, it's an example for all of us, but they also do paid marketing. So everyone does paid marketing. And for us, the reasons are very clear. So very high probability of making it work. As I said, you can start earning very quickly, and you can bootstrap your project. You can bootstrap your company if you want. It also gives you much more users to iterate on the product, paywalls, onboarding, get users to doing users interviews and stuff like that. And it definitely has this spillover effect on organic and brand. So for example, on the last point, to be more specific, when we start our apps, we first try to find the positive unit economics on paid. And then we also see if the app works for us. We also see the curve kind of changes, and we get more and more and more and more organic traffic as the percentage of total installs. And therefore, definitely there is quite a lot of synergies, and more people know about it, more people click and stuff like that. Yeah, in paid marketing, 4 points that I want to make. I mean, the first principle is the volume, diversity, and learning. You need to create a lot of assets to test. You also need to find a way to test them cheaply so you do not run out of money. And it's very, very hard to understand what's going to work, right? We always kind of make bets out of a bunch of, let's say, 100 creatives, what's going to work, and we always fail. And therefore, I think here, like the approach of like massive volume definitely helps. The next thing, and I'll talk a little bit more about it later, is the diversity of ads creatives. It's also important because in this case, it's like, you know, the original way of like building products is, yeah, you try to find pain point, then communities, people who kind of struggle with this pain point, then you observe them for like very long time, and then you try to understand their workflow and you solve. In consumer products, I think the luxury that we have, that we can actually mine for these pain points without necessarily doing user interviews, but actually with the ads, because we have a lot of data on the CTR, CPMs, conversions and stuff like that. And if we, for example, shoot like in different directions, we see with whom the product resonates. So it's also part of interesting product discovery. Yeah, and the last thing is learnings. It's also very important to learn on what you do, and it's also something that we try to master. But obviously, these things should not be a leaky bucket as well. It should increase your ROI because you learn from every batch you create. Another thing which we started doing quite recently at Reface is, yeah, it's probably related to kind of learning and ideation, is about strategic thinking and systematic thinking of marketing in terms of the product discovery, but also in terms of where the money flows, right? And this is an example of our AI mental health app. It's called Honestly, and the use case is sort of simple. You share with Honestly your thoughts, something stresses you out, you want to vent, you don't want to bother your friend, you basically speak, type, or whatever to this app, and it gives you different interesting personality traits, insights, and stuff like that. And in this app, you can sell it in multiple ways, and the way how we approach it is obviously think through different kind of lenses what the product may solve. Then these lenses we also try to segment as much as possible. So this is kind of a pyramid in a way. Then we also iterate with messaging. It's also very important because it resonates with different audiences. It can work or not. And then we think about the audience. And when we do the marketing process, let's say for a month or two, we go through multiple layers of this structure. And in a month or two, we have a much better understanding what works, why it works, and where is the point of kind of scale if it works. So it's a very cool thing. It's quite hard to figure out, actually. Yeah, another thing which I said at the beginning, that volume matters quite a lot, and the volume you can achieve only through work with automation and the new tech tools which are available. And also I think we need to remember that all apps and partially commerce, mobile games, we compete for the same resource, which is eyeballs and time. And therefore, everyone is doing creatives, everyone doing a lot of creatives, and it's a race who does it a little bit better. And for us in Reface, it's a strategic, this platform function, as I said. And what it is basically the tools of automation that we try mostly to build in-house, in the way how you upload creatives, how you name it, what is the way of naming them as well. And a lot of work in terms of the creation of ads as well. So we're still quite early in this journey, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of companies which do it better than us. But now we are very aggressively adopt different tools that can make our creative process more streamlined and faster. For example, a very cool case right now is that we have this vision that in the company there should be no graphic designers, because graphic design, like static creatives, not the motions, but the statics can be, we're very, very close from a fully make them by the machine, not by person. And therefore now one of the projects that we have on the strategic level in Reface is actually build a pipeline, which is the amalgamation of different editing and AI, ML creation, analysis, and production tools to fully make static creatives automatic. That's something very important that we're trying to do. Yeah, and last but not the least, you also need pieces to create good ads, and it can be the UGC videos, it can be stocks, it can be creators and stuff like this. So we try to create a very steady, cheap, and efficient supply of content that would be put together for us to even speed up our creative iteration. And the last thing on paid ads is the team performance. Yeah, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, even at the age of AI, people matter quite a bit. And it's hard to crack. But the way how we think about it is that the team needs to be very kind of data-driven. It needs to have targets, number of creatives, how much we produce every month, win rate that we try to target, whether our win rate goes up with every week, every month for the specific product, the breadth of the concepts, how much we're kind of jumping on one place because this pain point works versus how much we kind of go broader, longevity of winners, the creatives which bring us enough traffic and money, how long they stay relevant, and also cost per creative. That's something which also combines together the cost of the team, the cost of AI tools, and the capacity to produce stuff. Yeah, in terms of the approach, as I said, kind of the systematic thinking of how to approach the creative production, the tools we used, also the weekly process, how team is well organized, how disciplined the team, how much do they hit on all the points that we said earlier, and also learnings, and the team structure, what are the roles, and as I said, for example, the graphic designer is probably not something that we're very excited in the future, but at the same time, there are definitely roles which will help us think through much more like AI creation of creative. So it's sort of partially a person who is very interested in new technical trends, the tools which are available, but also understand a little bit of design, but also understand the math of paid marketing. That's also the role that we try to invent right now. The motivation, culture, and obviously cross-team collaboration, because you need to speak with everyone who is engaged in the product. Yeah, the next rule is onboarding. It's a big topic, obviously, and it's very, very important to make it right. It's also a place where probably the majority of experiments happens in the product because it's easier to change, and also it has dramatic impact on our unit economics like crazy. So, for example, here you can see our web onboarding of our AI mental health tool, and usually, I mean, the good way of thinking about onboardings is to see what works on the market. So you should know what are the competitors or what are the companies who try to solve the same pain points, and just to see what works for them and try to work out of that space as a 0.0. And usually the good onboarding is, I mean, visually cool, you have questions, so you kind of build interest, and you make people invest their time in your product. You also have cool value props that should resonate, and ideally you also have reasons to believe, so people actually buy what they want to buy, and they do not churn, they do not write bad reviews, and you're just building something that they want. Yeah, another interesting point, and this is a debatable point, is freemium. And for us, all our products are based on freemium model where you can skip the paywall. Basically, you can either pay on onboarding, and you can do it either trial or instant payment, so we sort of experiment with it. But one thing which kind of relevant for all our apps is the fact that you can actually get to free functionality in the app. And I think it depends on the product. At Reface, we try to build cool products. I mean, at least we believe that they're pretty cool. And therefore, for us, actually a lot of conversions happened once user click this thing and then they jump into an app. They start using it. Obviously, some functionality is free, some is not. And then eventually in day 7, day 30, whatever, they convert. And these users also usually very, high quality, because they purchase what they already used, and therefore, I mean, it's better for everyone in a way. So for us, premium works. We also heard tons of examples where hard paywall works. So it really depends also on your product strategy, but we force ourselves actually with freemium to make actually good products, so people use them knowing what they're buying. Rule number 6, web funnels. I think there are a bunch of topics and a bunch of talks about web funnel on this App Summit. Super interesting things for those who never experimented. I mean, you can grow 5 to 10x. Which is massive, and it's crazy. There is a literal overlap between web people and app store people, so people who buy apps and people who buy on web. And it's also one of the strategic priorities for us right now, because Reface was born and still is the majority kind of app-driven, app monetization company, but we also see a massive upside just to sell on web. Probably almost the last slide, and I'll set you free, is influencers. Interesting topic. We failed with Restyle, as I said, but there are definitely examples in the market where people make influencers work repeatedly. And there is this like little hint that we hear from the market is there is a new way how to work with influencers on a kind of flat CPM-based plus success fee way. I encourage you to check YouTube videos or podcasts of Kal AI and Quitter. This is like 2 American apps which sort of got it right. And I think there is a lot of actually room for growth in the influencer marketing, because what I said about paid, like a lot of people know about it. People do it in the different levels of sophistication, but this area is a little bit less commoditized, I would say, and therefore, if you can make it work, it gives you good margins. So we also try to crack the influencers in a good way. Whom we pick up, how do we them remunerate, and actually it's probably the biggest one. And also, how do we think about the learnings and the data we get from influencers campaigns. Yeah, and my last slide. I mean, current market is hard. As I said, like everyone is building, more people can build. It's easier to build, it's easier to market. Way less tricks. I mean, everything what I said, I'm pretty sure you know already. There is this, like Pareto rule of like 80 people doing the same. Everyone knows, everyone doing the same, and there is 20% who do it at the level of sophistication, which makes them build massive companies. And therefore, it's hard, and you just need to go deep enough in all of the aspects to succeed. What I said, consumers are also picky. It's harder to sell right now. And AI in general, how we call it in Reface, it's the era of abundance. So we'll have everything in like an unlimited supply. So it's also harder. But the way how we try to think about it at Reface is that, some fundamentals are the same. And this is a book which I really, really like. The guy, probably wrote it many, many years ago. Yeah, there are 7 competitive powers that you kind of try to build. You try to build moats not to be easily disrupted. Everyone can be disrupted, everyone can be removed from the market, but we try to think in these kind of layers of like operational efficiency, branding, corner resource, network effects, and a few more. And we think which products as individual entities within Reface can fall into some of them, and we try to intensify them. And Reface as an app builder also what can make us more defensible. And for example, one of the things that make companies more defensible is the operational efficiency layer within the 7 powers, which relates a lot to paid marketing. Like people who make it like at scale, super quick, super great, they're this 20% which is very hard to reach, and they actually enjoy this one of the powers which allow them to be very big, keep scaling, and have higher margins than the rest. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.